guess. But like,
well, then the question doesn't the question now seem
okay,
like
but then that's an insecure man.
Insecure.
Why is it insecure?
Because you don't want her to have any comparison.
I'm going to use your logic back. Okay, a man doesn't want a woman because she has 10 kids. He's insecure.
I definitely think that he has a spot to be insecure simply because he still would have to deal with the past baby.
Why would that be insecurity, though?
But okay, your question is, would a man be insecure if a lady has 10 kids?
No, my question is, if a man didn't want a lady with 10 kids, does that make him insecure?
No, it just makes him, he just has self-respect and he doesn't feel comfortable being with a woman who has multiple kids with different guys.
So he has a preference.
Yeah, that's his preference, is to not be with a woman
So
that has 10
if
kids.
your preference is to be with a virgin and not with a woman who has a high body count,
That's not insecurity.
That's perfectly
it's
fine.
not insecurity.
Tony, I am your number one OF suspect.
And how much have you spent?
$35K, $35,000.
Oh, it's nice to finally meet you.
You too. Oh, you're soft hands. Finally, I got to touch him.
What's your body count?
8'5", you can't be so.
Okay, I won't. What? Why?
No girl's ever given me a chance. That's why I spent so much on OF. I hope one day we'll let me.
What challenges do you have next?
Bonnie Blue's petting zoo. I am going to be in a glass box, tied up, and it's going to be open for the public.
Oh my god.
Get me in the box, but people can join me to me, touch me, just look at me.
Where?
I'm going to be in the centre of
and so I don't think body count should matter, to be honest.
Okay.
Are you speechless?
Yeah, just kind of said you're
Excuse me, you can't shame people because of their body count.
1,500, whatever the
72.
That's insane.
Just say
Disgusting.
Welcome back, guys. What you just saw is me almost throwing up after showing you one example of the low-value women, the OF girls, and high body count women in general. Definitely stay away from women with high body counts. You will get fried, disappointed, and also at higher risk of catching STDs. Guys, you cannot form a relationship with a high body count woman. It's impossible. They are not the same person as what they were before they were a virgin. Here's why you need to stay away from them. When a woman has been with many men, she starts to desensitize her emotional bonding ability, decreasing their emotional value. It's neuroscience. Every time she bonds with a man sexually, her brain releases oxytocin, the same chemical that bonds a mother to her child. But the more partners she has, the more those receptors get fried, and eventually, they stop working the way they should. She becomes numb to intimacy. She can't pair bond. She compares every man to her past lovers. She loses the innocence and spiritual weight of connection and replaces it with detachment. A woman's body count absolutely affects her ability to bond, commit, and stay loyal. The difference between a woman who's a virgin and one who's been with 15, 20, or 50 men is night and day. When a woman is a virgin, her first experience with a man is deeply emotional and spiritually significant. That man becomes the baseline for all future connection. She's more likely to bond, submit, and attach emotionally. But after dozens of partners, that connection gets numbed. Her brain's oxytocin system, the bonding chemical, gets desensitized. She's no longer able to fully attach. She becomes comparison-focused, detached. Her mind's thinking, is this guy as good as Chad from 3 years ago? Does he turn me on like that guy from college? She doesn't feel love anymore. She rationalizes it, and it never lasts. Statistically, women with higher body counts are more likely to cheat, divorce, be emotionally unstable in relationships. Why? Because they've trained their minds to disconnect. Love becomes conditional. Intimacy becomes transactional. And when things get hard, she doesn't work through it. She reverts to what she knows. Escape, replace, swipe, repeat. Guys, seriously, that's just extremely low value. This is not cope. This is a very real thing. Men and women cheat differently. Men cheat for variety. Women cheat for replacement. When a woman cheats, she's usually emotionally checked out long before. She's already imagined a life without you. She's already bonded to someone else. And if she slept around before, it's even easier for her to detach and move on. That's why it cuts deeper. That's why men feel betrayed, beyond repair. A man can cheat and still love his woman. A woman cheats when she's already gone. You're not a bad person for wanting a woman with purity, loyalty, and emotional depth. You're not insecure for wanting a partner who can actually bond with you, not one who's been through 10 pairings and lost the ability to connect. Protect your future. Value your legacy. Don't build a kingdom with someone who's emotionally spent before you even begin.
500K. Wait, what? 500K. Let's do like 200. Let's do
200K?
Yeah.
200K.
500 is pushing it, right?
All right, so your man falls in at 0.023%, so you're pretty delusional. You're not going to find a guy like that.
I'm delusional. I'm living in a fucking fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's lovely.
You're prime?
Top notch.
What makes you prime, top notch, Wu-Tang?
Don't worry, I'll wait.
I mean, I have everything that you could possibly ask for as far as brains, beauty, ambition. I would build my man up to be everything he wants to be in this world. I'm the best investment he would ever make in his life.
You approached me on a sugar daddy website and asked me to be your sugar baby and then couldn't afford my allowance.
Never did.
He couldn't afford my $10,000 allowance a month.
And my shit's exclusive. I've invested in my body. I have a $150,000 body. No one barely touches me. Yes, you can see me on Instagram because I'm paid to do that, but nobody touches me unless a man, yes, does take care of me. I like bosses. I like millionaires. I like someone who can mentor me, teach me, and invest in me and get me to my highest level as well.
And just to be clear, what's a $150,000 body?
4 BBLs, 2 breast technically 5 BBLs, but we're going to go with 4. 2 breast augmentations, obviously Botox, lip injections, and then I had the fat buckle removed out of my cheeks on my face.
Wow. And how young are you?
28.
我呢就那个人，我有开啥事？来年拍谁？你想害你？
Most men can't explain it, but they've felt it. You see a woman who's been around the block, and something in her face, her energy, her aura, it's just different. She might still be attractive, but there's a lack of softness, a hardened edge, a weight behind the eyes. That's not a coincidence. It's biology. A woman's face may actually change due to gaining up a high body count. A woman's face reflects her lifestyle. A woman with low pair bonding and high trauma exposure often develops more hardened and dull facial expressions. Chronic partying, emotional chaos, and multiple partners create cortisol buildup, the stress hormone. This accelerates aging, contributes to inflammation, and creates that drained or tired look over time. You'll notice more. Eye hollowness, masculine energy and posture, less natural glow, micro-expressions of bitterness or distrust. You're not imagining it. The more men she's dealt with, the less peace she carries. And it shows on her face. Every time a woman connects sexually, her body releases oxytocin. But when it happens over and over with multiple partners, especially without commitment, it creates hormonal dissonance. Her body gets used to temporary highs followed by emotional crashes. This affects estrogen-testosterone balance. She may become more aggressive or masculine, mood swings, anxiety, or depression. Difficulty forming stable emotional connections. Her body is always trying to reset, but never finds peace. Her brain adapts to short-term emotional stimulation and becomes reward-focused, not bond-focused. She gets dopamine hits from novelty. She begins to associate sex with attention, not love. Long-term attachment becomes boring or uncomfortable to her. This makes it almost impossible for her to submit emotionally, stay bonded through hard times, feel true gratitude toward one man. She's chasing highs, not building roots. You can tell when a woman is at peace, and you can tell when she's been through war. And the truth is, every casual hookup, every toxic ex, every situationship scars her emotionally and hormonally. If you're looking to build a future, choose a woman who still carries innocence, balance, and peace. Because no amount of makeup or fillers can hide the chaos of a life misused. We don't talk about this enough. A woman's value, biologically, emotionally, and relationally, changes with age. Not because she's worthless after a certain number, but because her window for influence, family, and attraction is real, and it's limited. Let's walk through the real stages of life for most of women, from 18 to 80 in the modern Western world, and how each phase affects her options, her relationships, and her peace. Ages 18-22, innocence, fertility, maximum potential. At this age, a woman's beauty and fertility are at their natural peak. She has the most power, but also the least wisdom. Society pressures her to have fun, explore, party, and live her best life now. This is when she's most moldable, but also most at risk of making mistakes that will follow her forever, like bad partners, trauma, and body count accumulation. Ages 23-29. Ego, partying, boss babe energy. She starts her career, travels, and gets deep into nightlife or Instagram culture. This is the era of overconfidence. I can always settle later. She often ignores good men, thinking her value will always be high. She rejects marriage and motherhood, chasing external success or validation. But internally, her pair bonding ability is weakening with every failed fling. Ages 30-35. Panic, pressure, and selective memory. She starts hearing the clock tick. Fertility begins to decline sharply, and so do dating options. She suddenly wants a good man to settle with, but now carries baggage, trauma, and often a higher body count. She wants a man to accept the past and ignore the consequences. Ironically, the same men she rejected in her 20s are now her only shot. And they've moved on. Ages 36-45. High risk, low reward. Many women in this age range are single moms or divorced. They still want commitment, but now face lower fertility, high emotional walls, and fewer viable options. If they do get pregnant, the risks are higher. Bitterness and entitlement often replace grace and femininity, making them more masculine and harder to bond with. Ages 46-60. Realization and regret. At this point, most women realize, I should have settled earlier. I should have done this or that differently. Looks fade. Dating becomes almost non-existent. Many become emotionally jaded. Or they may begin to pursue or things like faith, which I suggest Jesus Christ is the way to eternal life, pets, hobbies, or other things to fill the void. Some become wise, others stay in denial. Ages 60-80. Elder phase. If she built a family and stayed loyal, this is her era of peace, legacy, and respect. If she chose freedom and fun, it's often loneliness, regret, or social isolation. This is where the consequences of a life well lived or poorly chosen fully show. Modern society tells women they can have it all: career, freedom, and then marriage when they're ready. But biology and age doesn't wait. Things don't stay the same forever, and life just rolls on in chapters and sequences. If you're a woman in your prime years, don't waste them on ego, parties, and short-term dopamine. And if you're a man, be wise about the stage she's in and what comes with it. Also, don't waste your younger years on simping, chasing low-value women. Don't waste your life partying, drinking, or in any degenerative things. I will look at doing a social clock for men in the future in department, so when women turn 80, this is her final thoughts. Mindset. What did I leave behind? She reflects on family, values, legacy, and what really mattered. If she had a family, grandchildren, loyal husband, she radiates peace. If she chased modern feminism, parties, freedom, and clout, she is often alone, forgotten, or filled with regret. This is the final audit of her life's decisions. No more pretending, no more ego. Something important that I need to talk about is Taylor Swift fans, as well as Billie Eilish fans, Cardi B fans, and more. Why mainstream pop fandom reflects low-value, conformist thinking. In a culture saturated by digital noise and emotional overexposure, fan bases built around artists like Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, and Cardi B serve as case studies in identity outsourcing and low-value behavior. These fandoms do not merely enjoy music. They form emotional cults around carefully engineered public figures, often elevating surface-level entertainment into life-guiding philosophy. They outsource identity to celebrity narratives. Most fans don't admire these artists for their principles or values, because those don't exist in any consistent form. They admire them for being popular, for having aesthetic appeal, and for saying things that validate weakness or indulgence. That's not identity. That's emotional mimicry. If you look to a pop artist to define empowerment, beauty, rebellion, or morality, you're not thinking independently. You're submitting your worldview to corporate marketing and manufactured personas. They glorify dysfunction and avoid responsibility. Taylor Swift's cycle of victim-centered songwriting teaches women to externalize blame rather than reflect inward. Billie Eilish's aesthetic of numbness encourages emotional stagnation, not healing. Cardi B promotes vulgarity and hypermaterialism as feminism, teaching girls that attention is more valuable than integrity. These messages reward dysfunction and rebrand it as empowerment. But true power is built through self-discipline, clarity, and internal strength, not through public overexposure, sexualization, or blame. They think emotionally, not critically. Most of these fans do not ask, what values is this artist promoting? Is this content building me or sedating me? Would I respect someone who lived like this in real life? Instead, they react, she's a queen. You're just a hater. Let people enjoy things. This emotional tribalism replaces critical thought with loyalty, no matter how toxic the message becomes. They conform while claiming rebellion. These fandoms pride themselves on being different, independent, or empowered. But they all say the same things. They wear the same aesthetics. They echo the same talking points. They adopt the same struggles for social validation. That isn't rebellion. That's consumer-coded conformity masked as self-expression. They reject accountability. Any critique of their idols is labeled toxic, sexist, or hateful. This is a defense mechanism, not a rational counterpoint, and it shows the root problem: fragile identities based on celebrity alignment rather than inner character. High-value people welcome critique, question messaging, and think independently. Low-value people attach emotionally to icons and treat disagreement as personal betrayal. So seriously, guys, stay away from women who fan those celebrities. They are low value and low IQ, that they cannot even think for themselves. Now I'm going to get into the dark spiritual women. Like if they deal with witchcraft, tarot cards, astrology, and self-manifestation, are often delusional and low value. They outsource responsibility to external forces, whether it's Mercury retrograde, a toxic moon, or their star sign's shadow traits. These women often use external forces to justify internal dysfunction. Rather than take accountability for poor decision-making, bad habits, or broken relationships, they lean on cosmic excuses to avoid growth. Red flag mindset. It's not me, it's my Scorpio rising. Why? It's low value. True maturity comes from internal self-regulation, not magical rationalizations. They prefer emotion over logic, fantasy over truth. These belief systems reward emotional validation over logic and fantasy over grounded reality. Tarot cards and astrology aren't about truth. They're about feeling seen and entertained by vague narratives. Witchcraft, crystals, and energy cleansing offer a sense of control, but often replace real-world healing with spiritual escapism. Core issue: they're using symbolic rituals to avoid real introspection and discipline. They seek power without structure or virtue. Women in these circles are often trying to manipulate outcomes, love spells, manifesting money, hexing exes. This is about control, not clarity. They want to feel powerful without the burden of self-refinement, obedience to moral law, or submission to a higher order. Why it's dangerous? It becomes narcissistic spirituality. Self-worship disguised as self-love. They attract and generate chaos. These women often live in cycles of drama, unstable relationships, trauma bonding, and erratic behavior. Their lives reflect the instability of their belief system, which is constantly shifting based on moons, stars, or vibes. Pattern you'll notice: they claim to be spiritually awakened, yet every month brings a new identity, meltdown, or toxic phase. They often resist masculine order. Women drawn to witchcraft, zodiacs often reject masculine order, discipline, and structure. Instead, they exalt divine feminine energy, which too often becomes a euphemism for emotional indulgence, chaos, and resistance to accountability. Why this matters? A woman who resents structure will resist family, duty, and the order needed to build a stable life. If a woman builds her identity around celestial excuses, magical thinking, and emotional rituals, you're not looking at a future wife. You're looking at spiritual delusion dressed as empowerment. High-value women live in truth, order, and humility. They don't need a horoscope to know who they are.
You are happy alone, actually spend their whole lives searching for a way to replace the companionship of a man. That's why these single women still have one-night stands. It's why they become obsessed with their pets. It's why they go on podcasts to talk about how happy they are. It's why they post about it on social media. They are looking for human connection and validation and companionship in other forms, some form that will sufficiently replace the form of a man who loves them and is devoted to them. And they never find it. And so they are never really happy, no matter how desperately they claim otherwise.
Only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said. Why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself. Thought
You're
something
a
was
man
wrong
of
with me.
self-control. You work out, you do business.
Yeah.
You can possess your own power and direct it the way you want to direct it.
It's just not how I am. It's not how I am.
You think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not.
Okay.
I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying, but I'm not triggered. You know what I'm saying? No, you are. You're annoying in like this goody two-shoes type way, and that's fine. I'm going to live my life on my terms, unapologetically, like truly. So you can ask me this 85 different ways. At the end of the day, I'm going to walk out of here the same man.
Let me tell you a story that shows the darkest side of modern, low-value femininity. A man runs into a burning house to save his woman's life. He pulls her out, rescues her, but in the process, he suffers third-degree burns, permanent scarring, and ends up hospitalized. He loses his looks, but keeps his loyalty. And what does she do? She leaves him, gone. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. This is the reality of modern love. Most women today are taught to love based on superficially and aesthetics, not sacrifice. They'll say they want loyalty, protection, and a good man. But when the test comes, when he's no longer the shiny Instagram-worthy version of himself, they vanish. This is the lowest form of feminine energy and lowest value a woman can go. To abandon a man who risked his life for you, who gave you everything, including his face, his peace, and his future, is the definition of extremely low value. This isn't just betrayal, it's also inhuman. No loyalty, no femininity, no soul. That's not love. That's narcissism in a dress. Real high value, women stay. Low value women flee. A high value woman stays through hardship. She honors sacrifice. She sees beyond scars. But a low value woman, she only stays for what she can extract. And the moment it's not pretty, not easy, not glamorous, she's out. So guys, it's extremely important to seek high value women when possible. That story was just so sad. You've now seen what low-value behavior looks like, from the shallow games on dating apps to the heartbreaking betrayal of a man who gave everything for a woman who gave nothing back. These aren't just red flags, they're warnings. This is what happens when men ignore standards, overlook character, and chase looks over loyalty. But here's the truth. Not all women are like this. There are still women out there who value peace over attention, commitment over chaos, femininity over feminism. Women who bring support, softness, and long-term vision to a man's life. Women worth building a legacy with. In the next part of this series, I'll break down the different archetypes of high-value women, who they are, where they're found, and how to recognize them before the world corrupts them. We'll talk about the innocent girl at the cafe, the loyal Christian wife in training, the quiet, feminine gym girl, and more. Not in competition with it. If this video opened your eyes, drop a comment. Share it with a brother, and make sure you're subscribed. Because the next part might just show you the type of woman you've been searching for all along.